Welcome to Commodore Clash, a first-of-its-kind TV debate show where Andrew Wilf and Jonah Barbin talk all things Vanderbilt sports. On Saturday, the Commodores will be playing Hawaii on the football field, and we can't wait to talk all about it. Welcome, everyone. Today, we will have our first episode of Commodore Clash, a first-of-its-kind TV talk show inspired by VU Sports Wired, where we will debate on all things Vanderbilt sports. Today we'll talk about Vanderbilt football and their recent matchup against Hawaii this Saturday, and we'll also discuss Vanderbilt soccer's recent success on the pitch. Without further ado, let's talk about what the keys to success will be against Hawaii and what position groups will be vital in showing what will be good building blocks for the season ahead.
Yeah, Andrew, well, first of all, honored to be here with you. It's great to have you back and have our first episode of Commodore Clash. The first thing that I would say, I'm looking at the running back room, right? You got Patrick Smith listed as the number one running back coming into the season. I know that was a little bit surprising to me. You've got Cedric Alexander there. You've got Chase Gillespie there. But Clark Lee opts to go with the most experienced guy in Patrick Smith, who's put in a lot of good reps. I'm excited to see what he can do. He was big in that Florida game last year in that SEC upset. Clark Lee probably trying to take some of that magic and work it in. And, I mean, you have a guy who knows the system. Year 3 of a system is really, especially in college, when things start to get settled in my mind. And I like Clark Lee riding with Patrick Smith.
And Jonah, I love how you really are talking about the importance of ground and pound, but in today's football, what's even more important is the way you pass the football. And what I think is really important is A.J. Swann to have a great performance. A.J. Swann was Mike Wright's backup for the first 4 games last season until he went to NIU, scored 4 touchdowns, threw for 255 yards, and then he lost the next 5 games, ended the season with a low back injury where it really plagued him. But this will be a key building block. He has 4 touchdowns, and we were talking about it before the show. He could have 20-plus touchdowns, and you need to have those non-conference games to really show what you can become, because if Swann doesn't have a good performance on Hawaii, how is he going to be beating these SEC teams? So that's what's really important to me, and it's going to be really exciting how he uses the gadgets like Jaden McGowan and Quincy Skinner Jr. and Will Shepard.
I totally agree. This is Swann's year to shine. Second year in the system. He's Clark Lee's recruit. He's Clark Lee's guy. He's got the receivers. And I agree. If he doesn't have a good matchup against Hawaii, that's detrimental not only to that game, but really to the complexion of the season. Because these 4 non-conference games, especially the 3 very winnable, excuse the Wake Forest game because that's going to be a tough game. These are crucial games if Vanderbilt wants to think about making a bowl, if they want to really make the next step that they're talking about. Something else I'm looking for in this game, Andrew, is the defense. Right, the rush defense was awful last year, last in the SEC. We know that. Something I'm looking at is the pass defense in this game. Hawaii isn't going to be the same team that they played last year. They, under Timmy Chang, head coach, they will be running the run and shoot offense, 4 receivers in there. So there's going to be a lot of threats downfield. I'm looking for this pass defense to step up and make a statement in a big way.
And I think the thing that's really interesting here is you lose an Anthony Orji, you lose a Max Worship, and you lose a lot of key vital pieces of this Vanderbilt defense. How will they fare? Only time will tell. Let's transition to Vanderbilt soccer and what's going on the pitch. Can Vanderbilt soccer be a better version of themselves? To give everyone context, they beat Chattanooga 3-1. Really solid performance, but then they drew in a scoreless affair to UMass Amherst, and they really couldn't even score against a team that they should be beating by 2 or 3 goals. They lose 3 of their 4 best goal scorers from last season. How will this team fare with such big losses?
Well, I understand, how you might be a little concerned about this, Andrew, but I'm here to tell you that they will be just fine. This is a team, first of all, a quick caveat on that UMass game. Yeah, they drew 0-0, but they outshot them 23-4, right? So that's kind of the expected result there. Just sometimes the balls don't find the back of the net, as we've always talked about on VU Sports Wired. If you're getting up a lot of shots and you outshoot a team by 20, I'm feeling pretty good about the direction of the team. This is a team that tied for second in the Eastern Division last year, was knocked out in the second round of the NCAA tournament by Northwestern. And yeah, they have some big losses, but I feel good about the people they're running out right now. Maya Anton, Abby Brighton, Rachel Dureski, Hannah McLaughlin, Jada Conti. There's a lot of young talent on this team that you've got to feel fired up about, Andrew.
And I think a big reason you're saying that is because head coach Darren Ambrose has always had great systems. But what people don't realize is that in every sport, you're going to have a constructive rebuild. And they won't do a rebuild per se, but I think it will be a constructive rebuild, meaning that it's all these young student athletes just trying to find time on the pitch, but there's not a lot of camaraderie amongst the players because they haven't really known the system yet. They're getting used to it. And then one more thing to say, these aren't even the big matchups. These are the early tune-up games, and it's 0-0. Come on, like you got 24 shots on net. Doesn't it show that we have no finishers? You have 24 chances. You have to have at least one go in.
Well, Andrew, speaking on chemistry, I mean, this team is returning 19. 7 new faces, and yeah, the faces that left are big faces, but they are returning 19. So I look at kind of the fundamental team chemistry, and I still feel good about what we've got. And like we agree that Ambrose, just a master of building teams like this. Tonight will be a big test against Kansas, certainly, and a game I have circled is September 3rd against Northwestern. That's the team that knocked you out. That's the team that got what was a really good team off track. How are you going to step up and respond? But I understand you should have beaten UMass. You heard what I had to say about the shots. I don't think it's the end of the world. It's an early game in the season.
And we're talking about games that we're circling. I'm thinking about an early September matchup between Vanderbilt and Middle Tennessee State at Geodis Park. That'll be really exciting. That is the Nashville SC's home stadium, and this will be a great way for people to really get interested in women's soccer in the Nashville metro area, and also will be a great opportunity for all fans, Vanderbilt and within the state of Tennessee, to really see how a great game can be played in one of the best soccer stadiums in the country. So really exciting stuff on West End, but let's go to our last segment where we talk about Clark Lee, the football team, and if they're going to go to a bowl game, meaning that they would need at least 6 wins. So let's just dissect that. Jonah, what are games that you think are must wins, and what are games that Vanderbilt will need to win to get to a bowl game?
Oh, I think they're going to do it, Andrew, but it's going to be close.
Okay.
You look at the non-conference, and that's where everything starts, right? You need 6. So the non-conference, when we're talking about the SEC, that is the gold right there. Those are 4 games right there. You look at the first game of the week. Hawaii, got to be a W, 63-10 last year. Alabama A&M, got to be a W. 2 very winnable home games. Then you're going on the road. Wake Forest, this is a tough team. No Sam Hartman this year, so I think it is perhaps a winnable game. But if you were to drop one game, that's where it would be. And then you got to take care of business against UNLV. That's 3 wins right there. My SEC wins, Andrew, I look at Kentucky. I look at a Missouri. I look at a Florida. I think those are all possible winnable games. I think you could be talking about a bowl team, 7 weeks into the season, which I don't think is that crazy.
As optimistic as I love to be, and it's so exciting when there's a great Vanderbilt team on the rise, it's still Vanderbilt football. And the reason I say that is they haven't gone to a bowl game since 2018. I think they will go to a bowl game, but it won't be that locked in by October 7th. Vanderbilt's going at the Swamp. And the Swamp is where Florida plays. That's not an easy place to play. That's the first thing I want to say. And I see a loss there. I see 3-1 in the non-conference slate as well. I see a game against Missouri where we win, like you were saying, because there was an opportunity last year for us to win, but Mike Wright couldn't get a first down at the end of the game. But I see a game like Auburn, first-year head coach, new quarterback, new system, and it's at home. So I see those games, those 5 games, and then South Carolina the week after in mid-November. That's when Vanderbilt clinches a bowl game and maybe clinches a game in like the Birmingham Bowl or the Barstool Sports Bowl against a small mid-major team, but just gets your foot in the door and would be a great building block for next season.
I could see them sneaking in for sure, but I do think there is cause for optimism. I agree, going to the Swamp is no cakewalk, but this is a Florida team that is beatable by the metrics I see, and I've seen Vanderbilt do it before. Obviously, Georgia's a game you're not getting. Ole Miss is going to be a very tough one, but Auburn's a winnable game. If you're talking about winning 7 or 8 games, which is possible, you could see Vanderbilt in a decent bowl game, and with a chance to really get this program some reps, then everything accumulates, right? When you have success in college football, more guys want to come to play for you. More guys know the name Clark Lee, the Clark Lee system. And before you know it, Vanderbilt is not the Vanderbilt of the SEC. They're an actual SEC contender.
And that's what we all hope for, right? And really happy to be back on the show and really excited to continue talking about Vanderbilt sports. Thank you guys all for listening to the show and cannot wait to see you guys again next week.